Shalom Uvracha, Morai Varabotai, Shalom Uvracha. Be'ezrat Hashem, the merit of Tzadik Rabbi Moshe Pinto, the merit of all tzadikim. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Be'ezrat Hashem, give the entire Kal Bracha v'Tzlacha Siyata Dishmaya Gedola. And may this week, Be'ezrat Hashem, be a week full of redemption. May we achieve all what we set out to bring into our lives. Amen. Kinyatam Be'ezrat Hashem. You know, Abotai, in this week's parasha, we see something very beautiful that can really give us a little bit of an awakening of all what's happening in the world, and maybe shine light on the fact that big success can come from the unknown that we are all being introduced to. In this week's parasha, we see Aaron HaKohen takes a step forward and takes the position of the Kohen Gadol, in which lights the menorah, in which does the Aktarat HaKetoret, in which holds the position of Kohen Gadol. There's a midrash in Midrash Tehillim that says that before Aaron HaKohen took the position of the menorah in this week's parasha, all Bnei Israel were worthy of taking that position. Where all Bnei Israel could have been a possible candidate to be taken and to be given that mitzvah. The Midrash says, the moment Aaron HaKohen stepped forward and took the mitzvah, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave him this tafkid, this position of lighting the menorah, all Bnei Israel lost their position of being potentially worthy, and from that point forward, were no longer worthy of lighting the menorah. The Midrash here is really teaching us a bigger idea and a bigger concept of how we reach to levels of success or greatness, or in a more simpler term, chairs of kingdom, chairs of position. The Midrash says that in every single great position, there is this concept of a limited number of individuals in which can sit on these chairs. And we sit with Aaron HaKohen. Only one person could light the menorah. Everybody was worthy of taking it until he took it. Once he took it, Bnei Israel were no longer worthy. Or in simpler words, once Aaron took that chair, that position, it was no longer available for all Klal Am Yisrael. The Midrash says this exists in every single aspect of our world. There's an idea of En Malchut Goveret Chaverta, that a kingdomship cannot overlap a kingdomship. Or in simpler words, you can't have two individuals sit in the same chair or sit in the same position of greatness. Every individual and every single position has only space for a very, very limited amount of people. Once they are occupied, that position becomes unavailable to the world. Or in simpler words, in order to reach to greatness, we have to be a part or of the very, very few individuals that came forward and took it. Before they took it, it was available and possible to be in the hands of all. After they took it, it was no longer in the hands of Am Yisrael. Now, the Midrash gives a few examples on what is this aspect like, what is this idea like. The Midrash says, before David HaMelech Alav Shalom became Melech, before he became king and before he took Malchut, kingdomship, all Bnei Israel could have stepped up and taken the kingdomship. It was available to all. It was accessible to all. Once David sat in the chair of the kingdomship, it was unavailable to all. Being that it's not possible that all Am Yisrael can be kings. Because the moment all Am Yisrael are kings, or all Am Yisrael are at a high statue of success, then nobody is really successful at all. And that is the idea that we could even see in our society. If we were all extremely wealthy, none of us would be wealthy. If we were all extremely famous, none of us would be famous. What allows us to reach to a place of something that is greater, something that is unique, something that is at a higher level, is at root the fact that there is only very, very few seats available. And once those seats are taken, they are no longer possible for any of us to take it. And we can see throughout the entire Torah. The Midrash says all the countries were worthy of becoming Eretz Israel until Eretz Israel became Eretz Israel. The moment the land came forward and took that position, no land can try to reach to that level, unavailable. All the nations were worthy of being Am Yisrael until Am Yisrael said Na'aseh v'nishma. Once they said Na'aseh v'nishma, Bnei Israel sat on that chair of greatness, the whole world was no longer worthy of achieving that position. The same thing we can see it with Yosef HaTzadik. And the same thing we can see it with Yaakov and Esav. That Yaakov took the bracha, he took the firstborn. Once he took the bracha, Yitzchak said, I can't give you Esav the bracha because Yaakov took it. So greatness in its core always stems from the fact of only having very few positions in place. Maybe we can give an analogy on what it's like. It's like a single woman. A single woman, she is mutar to everybody. A single woman is available to anybody. Anybody that is single can step up and try to be that lucky man that will get married to her, until one person sits in the seat of the khatan. And once a person sits in the seat of the khatan, she becomes asur to everyone. If that person falls off from the chair, then at that point, maybe she can come back to a place of being available until the next person sits on the chair. Being that all positions of greatness are opportunities that must be grabbed. If they are not grabbed, somebody else takes it, and then it is impossible to ascend to a level of greatness, if not one of the chairs becoming available. And this is this idea that we see even with Rabbi Chaim ben Attar and Baal Shem Tov. We know that Rabbi Chaim ben Attar and Baal Shem Tov had a great relationship with one another, even though they never met, but it was like a relationship that they had in Ruach HaKodesh. It says that when Baal Shem Tov, one Shabbat, he was sitting down, he was doing Tiyat Yadayim, Sudah Shelishit, and he started to cry. And the students said, "Why are you crying?" So they said, because there was this kavanah, this special intention that existed in the world for Netilat Yadayim of Sudah Shlishit, that all my life I tried to receive it, but from Shamayim they said it belongs to Rabbi Chaim ben Attar. And as long as Rabbi Chaim ben Attar is sitting on that chair of greatness, that he is holding on to that kavanah, to that intention and that secret will never be revealed. And he says, suddenly, from Shamayim, I felt that that secret was now available. So I understood that if it's available, it means Rabbi Chaim ben Attar left that chair and he passed away. Being that every single level of greatness must come with an opportunity of one person making the chair available, and then it becomes available to all until somebody grabs. And once somebody grabs it, all the world around it, they have to sit and wait until there will be another opportunity to reach to greatness, to reach to a height. And that's what happens with Aaron HaKohen. Aaron HaKohen in this week's parasha steps up, takes a position, and makes all of Israel no longer worthy of holding that position of Kohen Gadol. Now this is something, Abotai, that can really give us a big wave of motivation and understanding that all what's happening in our world is actually a great opportunity for all of us to rise to greater levels of panasa, of success, of simcha, of osher, of whatever it can possibly be. We see in the world right now, the entire world are at a state of unknown. Everybody are scared. Everybody are shaking. Everybody are trying very hard to hold on to their positions, knowingly that all the world's positions are not permanent. The wealthy can lose their wealth and fall down or make their position available. The famous can lose their position. In every aspect in the world, everything is shaking. But this instability, this shakiness, this unknown can also serve as a great opportunity for all of us. Because like what we said, only very few people can reach to greatness. And that's what makes them great, that there's a very limited number. Now that the entire world, to a certain degree, are being shaken off their chairs, or in simpler words, no longer holding on to their position as they held in the past, it's an opportunity for all of us to understand that with this unknown and with this shaking of the positions of all the individuals in the world comes an opportunity for each and every one of us to step up and to fill in their space and to fill in their position. So when we enter into a time of unknown and we enter into a time to instability, we have to all awaken ourselves and understand that this instability can act as an opportunity for us to achieve greatness that we would never be able to achieve without this instability. So Be'ezrat Hashem, may we all rise together, may we all grab positions of greatness, beTorah, beRuchaniyut, bezivug, bepanasa, besimcha, beYeshua, and all the aspects that could be. And then we all come together as a community, as Klal Am Yisrael, and grab our chairs of greatness in order that we will all prepare ourselves for Be'ezrat Hashem, our personal Geula and the Geula of all Klal Am Yisrael. Amen.